You spend your life worrying about what others think. You explain yourself. You defend your choices. You seek approval, pouring your energy into proving your worth. But here's the truth. No one is truly listening. Everyone is caught in their own storm, distracted by their own worries, too consumed by their own thoughts to dwell on yours. And yet, you live as if their opinions are the foundation of your existence. You let the whispers of others dictate your path. You allow the weight of judgment to shape your decisions. But the Buddha once said, "You are your own savior." Who else could be? Yet here you are, drowning in a sea of notifications, trapped in endless comparisons, measuring your value against the fleeting attention of others. Your mind is a battlefield, your focus shattered, your dreams buried beneath the expectations of people who do not walk your path. How did we end up here? Scrolling endlessly, chasing validation, exhausting ourselves in a race that has no finish line. But ask yourself, what is the distraction stealing your life? Is it the endless stream of gossip? The hours spent lost in mindless scrolling? Or is it the voice inside your head whispering that you are not enough? The world thrives on noise, on chaos, on pulling your attention in 100 directions so that you never stop long enough to realize the truth. Everything you are searching for, the peace, the confidence, the unshakable clarity, is already within you. But there is a catch. You must be willing to let go of everything that has kept you hostage. Every excuse, every hesitation, every fear of what they might think. This is not a gentle reminder. This is a reckoning. By the time this ends, you will have a choice: to break free or to remain in the same cycle, begging for permission to exist. Close your mouth, open your mind. Let silence reshape your life. Silence is not weakness. It is not passivity. It is power. For centuries, those who understood the depths of wisdom have embraced it, not as an escape, but as a force. But you let the noise drown out your destiny. You fill every moment with distractions, afraid of the quiet, afraid of what you might find there. But imagine for a moment, what if you stopped seeking approval? What if you no longer needed validation? What if, instead of explaining, justifying, proving, you simply were? There was once a temple hidden deep in the mountains. In the center of its courtyard hung a great bell, yet it was never struck. When a student asked why, the master simply replied, "Its strength lies not in its ringing, but in the silence it holds." The world mistakes silence for absence. But in reality, silence is full. It is where true answers are found, where the mind stops reacting and starts perceiving. The Buddha understood this. He spent years in noble silence, not because he had nothing to say, but because he knew that wisdom is not found in endless speaking. It is found in stillness. But the modern world has forgotten this. People fill their lives with constant noise, afraid to sit alone with their own thoughts. They mistake busyness for purpose. They believe that to be heard, they must be loud. But those who are truly powerful do not waste words. They do not chase validation. They do not react to every distraction. They conserve their energy. They observe. Look at your own life. When was the last time you sat in silence, truly listening to your own mind? Not the noise of the world, not the opinions of others, just you, sitting in the depths of your own awareness. You fear the quiet because in it, you must face yourself. But that is where your greatest power is waiting. When you master silence, you no longer explain yourself. You no longer react to negativity. You no longer allow external noise to dictate your inner peace. A person who speaks less is not weak. They are wise. They have learned that words are wasted on those who are not ready to listen. They have learned that peace is not found in convincing others, but in standing firm in their own truth. A bamboo tree does not resist the storm. It bends, it sways, but it does not break. It does not waste energy proving its strength. It simply is. Meanwhile, the rigid trees around it snap under the pressure, their resistance becoming their downfall. The same is true for you. The more you try to prove your worth, the more you exhaust yourself. The moment you stop explaining, the moment you stop defending, the moment you stop justifying every step you take, you reclaim your energy. But look around. How many people waste their lives in endless explanations? justifying their dreams to those who will never understand, defending their choices to those who fear change, seeking approval from those who are too blind to see their vision. But here's the truth. Some people do not listen to understand. They listen to argue. They are not seeking clarity. They are seeking control. And in trying to convince them, you only drain yourself. Imagine pouring water into a cracked cup. No matter how much you pour, it will never be full. The same is true for those who demand explanations. They will never be satisfied. You could spend your whole life explaining, justifying, proving, and still, they would doubt you. The moment you stop playing their game, the moment you stop seeking their validation, the moment you stop needing them to understand, you are free. Some will call you distant. Some will call you arrogant. Some will say you have changed. Let them. You were never meant to fit into their expectations. You were never meant to shrink yourself for their comfort. You were meant to rise, to walk your own path, to stand unshaken. The strongest people are not those who shout their worth, but those who are so deeply rooted in their truth that no opinion, no judgment, no rejection can shake them. A temple does not apologize for closing its gates to the unworthy. Neither should you. Your energy is sacred. Your peace is sacred. Protect it. Guard it like a fortress. There will always be people who try to take from you your focus, your time, your inner stillness. Do not allow them entry, and in doing so, you will discover something profound. When you stop explaining yourself, when you stop seeking approval, when you stop reacting to every distraction, life becomes light. The weight disappears, the noise fades, and in that silence, you find something you have been searching for all along. Your own voice, unshaken, undisturbed, powerful beyond measure. So stop explaining, stop justifying, stop begging for validation. You were never meant to seek approval. You were meant to exist, fully, freely, unapologetically. And in that silence, in that stillness, you will find everything you have ever been looking for. There was once a traveler who wandered into a forest searching for shelter. The storm clouds had gathered, the winds howled, and rain threatened to pour. In his search, he found a small hut occupied by an old monk sitting quietly inside. The traveler, breathless from his journey, pleaded with the monk, asking if he could stay. The monk welcomed him with a smile, but gave him one condition. If you wish to stay, you must not speak until morning. The traveler, desperate for safety, agreed. That night, the storm raged outside, thunder shaking the earth and winds howling through the trees. The traveler could hardly sleep, his mind racing. He wanted to ask the monk questions. Why was he so calm? Why wasn't he worried about the storm? Why wasn't he trying to secure the hut? But remembering the monk's condition, the traveler kept silent. By morning, the storm had passed, and the sun stretched across the sky. The traveler finally asked the monk how he had remained so calm during the storm. The monk smiled and said, "Because no amount of worry would have changed it. I could have panicked. I could have cursed the wind, feared the rain, and tried to shout my way out of it. But the storm does not care about noise. The only thing I could control was my silence, and in that silence, I found peace." Most people spend their lives reacting to the storms around them. They panic when things go wrong. They shout at what they cannot change. They explain themselves to people who refuse to understand. And in doing so, they create more noise, more tension, more suffering. But the wise understand that silence is not weakness, it is wisdom, it is strength, it is the ability to stay calm in the face of chaos. Look at your own life. How many times have you tried to explain yourself to someone who refused to listen? How many times have you exhausted yourself arguing with those who had already made up their minds? How many times have you lost your peace trying to prove yourself to people who were never willing to see the truth? People waste their energy explaining themselves because they fear being misunderstood. They fear rejection, judgment, and criticism. But here's the truth. Not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone is ready to hear your truth. And wasting your energy trying to convince those who refuse to listen only drains your strength. The strongest people do not waste their words, they conserve them. They know when to speak and they know when to stay silent. They understand that silence is not avoidance. It is discipline. They know that not every battle is theirs to fight, not every opinion deserves a response, and not every judgment is worth addressing. Imagine a lion walking through the savannah. It does not stop to explain itself to every barking dog. It does not waste energy proving its strength to every animal that doubts it. It moves with purpose, silently, confidently, knowing that its power is not in noise but in presence. You must learn to move the same way. But silence is not just about ignoring others. It is about mastering yourself. Most people live at the mercy of their emotions. They react without thinking. They lash out when they feel attacked. They allow anger and fear to dictate their behavior. But the wise understand that true power comes from self-control. Imagine a fire burning wildly in the wind. Every gust of air makes the flames grow higher, more dangerous, more destructive. But a controlled fire, calm and contained, brings warmth, light, and comfort. The mind is the same. A restless mind, constantly reacting, constantly seeking validation, is like a wildfire, destructive and out of control. But a still mind, a mind that knows when to speak and when to remain silent, is like a steady flame. It brings focus, strength, and clarity. And here's what most people never realize. When you learn to master your silence, you gain a power that others cannot touch. When you stop reacting to every insult, when you stop chasing validation, when you stop explaining yourself to those who refuse to listen, you become untouchable. There will always be people who misunderstand you. There will always be people who twist your words, who doubt your choices, who criticize your path. But the moment you stop trying to change their minds, you set yourself free. Because peace does not come from convincing others. It comes from knowing yourself. Confidence does not come from being accepted. It comes from accepting yourself. And strength does not come from fighting every battle. It comes from knowing which battles are not worth your energy. Imagine a warrior stepping onto a battlefield. The crowd shouts insults, calling him a coward, mocking his strength. But the warrior does not respond. He does not waste his breath on words that hold no power. Instead, he moves with purpose, conserving his energy for what truly matters. This is how you must live, not chasing applause, not begging for understanding, not explaining yourself to those who refuse to listen. Simply moving forward, silently, powerfully, unshaken by the noise around you. The greatest strength is not in shouting your truth, it is in living it. It is in knowing that your actions speak louder than words. It is in trusting that those who are meant to understand you will see your truth without you having to explain it. And when you embrace this, you will find something powerful. Peace. Peace that does not depend on others agreeing with you. Peace that does not crumble when you are criticized. Peace that stands firm, unshaken, no matter how loud the world becomes. So stop explaining yourself. Stop chasing approval. Stop wasting your energy convincing those who refuse to understand. Be still, be silent. Be like the monk in the storm, calm, unshaken, trusting that no amount of noise can disturb the peace you have cultivated within yourself. Because the truth is, silence is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is strength. It is power. And when you master it, you will no longer need to prove your worth to anyone, because you will know beyond doubt that your worth was never something you needed to explain. There was once a man who spent his life trying to please others. He bent himself in every direction, constantly explaining his choices, defending his actions, and seeking approval from everyone he met. No matter how hard he tried, there were always those who criticized him. Some said he was too bold. Others said he was too quiet. Some mocked his ambition. Others doubted his ability. Exhausted and frustrated, he sought the wisdom of an old teacher, hoping to learn how to make everyone accept him. The teacher listened quietly as the man poured out his frustration. When the man finally finished speaking, the teacher smiled and handed him a clay pot. He told him to walk through the marketplace and see how people reacted. The man agreed. As he walked, some people admired the pot, praising its design. Others mocked it, calling it cheap and ugly. Some ignored him entirely. When the man returned to the teacher, he was confused. "What does this mean?" the man asked. The teacher replied, "No matter where you go, some will praise you, some will criticize you, and some will not notice you at all. But none of it changes what the pot truly is. The man understood. For years, he had exhausted himself trying to shape his life around the opinions of others. But no matter what he did, their judgments kept changing. He realized that true peace comes not from being accepted by everyone, but from accepting himself. This is the truth most people never understand. They live as prisoners of other people's opinions, constantly explaining themselves, constantly defending their choices, constantly chasing approval that never lasts. They waste their energy trying to please those who will never be satisfied, and in doing so, they lose sight of their own truth. But the moment you stop seeking validation, you reclaim your power. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you take back control of your life. Most people think they need to defend their dreams to others. They believe that if they can just explain their goals well enough, if they can convince people of their worth, they will finally be accepted. But the truth is, the people who doubt you are not doubting you because they don't understand your vision. They are doubting you because they fear your growth. Some people will criticize you not because you are wrong, but because you are doing what they are too afraid to do. Some will mock your path not because it is foolish, but because they are too insecure to walk their own. And some will judge you not because you are failing, but because your courage reminds them of everything they have been too afraid to attempt. Trying to explain yourself to these people is pointless. They are not interested in understanding. They are interested in control. They want you to stay small so they can feel secure. They want you to remain unsure so they can feel powerful. And if you spend your life explaining yourself to people like this, you will waste years chasing a form of acceptance that will never come. But when you stop explaining, when you stop defending, when you stop wasting your energy trying to win over those who refuse to understand, you become free. Free to focus on what matters. Free to pursue your path without distraction. Free to walk forward without the weight of unnecessary battles slowing you down. Think of the eagle. It does not explain itself to the birds below. It does not stop to convince the sparrows that it belongs in the sky. It flies because that is what it was born to do. The same is true for you. You were not meant to waste your life begging for approval. You were not meant to shrink yourself to fit into someone else's expectations. You were meant to rise, to follow your path, to embrace your vision, to move forward without hesitation. But this requires courage, because the moment you stop explaining yourself, people will test you. They will try to pull you back. They will try to make you question your path. They will tell you that you are wrong, that you are arrogant, that you are foolish, and if you are not strong, you will fall into the trap of defending yourself all over again. But here's what you must remember. Those who truly believe in you will not need explanations. They will see your truth in your actions. They will recognize your strength in your silence. They will know who you are, not because you told them, but because you showed them. And those who refuse to see your truth, they were never meant to walk with you. Let them go. A warrior does not stand on the battlefield explaining his reasons for being there. He does not waste time justifying his armor, his sword, his purpose. He stands firm, unshaken, ready to move forward. You must learn to do the same. Stop explaining your dreams to those who cannot see your vision. Stop defending your choices to those who refuse to understand your path. Stop seeking approval from those who have no intention of giving it. Instead, focus on your purpose. Focus on your growth. Focus on becoming so powerful in your own truth that no amount of doubt, no amount of judgment, no amount of noise can disturb your peace. The day you stop explaining yourself is the day you will finally be free. Free to live your truth without hesitation. Free to follow your path without apology. Free to rise without the weight of other people's opinions holding you down. And in that freedom, you will find something far greater than approval. You will find peace. The kind of peace that does not depend on others. The kind of peace that stands firm even when others misunderstand you. The kind of peace that comes from knowing, without question, that you no longer need to explain yourself to anyone. So walk forward in silence. Let your actions speak. Let your growth become your answer. Let your results tell your story. And leave those who cannot see your truth behind. Because the truth is this: your life is not a debate. Your dreams are not up for discussion. And your path does not need permission. You were not born to convince others. You were born to become who you were always meant to be. There was a wise man who once told his students, "Do not waste your breath explaining the sun to those who refuse to open their eyes." Those words carry a truth that most people overlook. You can spend your entire life trying to explain your journey, your choices, your dreams, but some will never see. Not because they cannot, but because they refuse to. And no matter how clear your words, no matter how passionate your explanations, those who are determined to misunderstand you will always find a reason to doubt you. But you must ask yourself, what are you really trying to prove? Why do you keep explaining yourself to those who have no intention of believing you? Why do you keep draining your energy on people who only seek to pull you back into their own comfort zones? The truth is, not everyone is meant to understand your journey. Not everyone is capable of seeing your vision. And not everyone deserves access to your mind, your heart, or your energy. Some people thrive on doubt. They find comfort in questioning others because it distracts them from questioning themselves. They challenge your path because it forces them to confront their own fear of growth. And when you try to explain yourself to people like this, you are not convincing them. You are feeding their insecurity. There will always be people who try to define you by your past. They will remind you of your mistakes, your failures, your weakest moments. They will hold on to the version of you that made them comfortable, because if you grow beyond that version, they will be forced to examine their own life, and that terrifies them. But here's the truth. Who you were is not who you are, and who you are now is not who you are becoming. Growth is not something you need to explain. It is something you need to embrace. The moment you stop defending your transformation is the moment you step into your true power. Think of the caterpillar. It spends its early life crawling, grounded, limited to the earth. But when it feels the pull to change, it doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't stop to explain why it must enter the cocoon. It simply follows the call of growth, trusting that the struggle is necessary, trusting that in time, it will emerge as something greater. But what if the caterpillar had stopped to explain itself? What if it had tried to convince the other insects that its time in the cocoon was necessary? They would have doubted it. They would have called it foolish. They would have told it to stay the same, to avoid the unknown. And this is what happens when you waste your time explaining yourself to those who refuse to understand. They are not resisting your path because it is wrong. They are resisting it because it challenges the limits they have placed on themselves. So stop explaining. Stop defending. Stop seeking approval from those who are not ready to see what you are becoming. Instead, turn inward. Focus on your growth. Focus on becoming so strong, so certain, so aligned with your purpose that no opinion, no judgment, no criticism can shake you. But this requires strength, because the moment you stop explaining yourself, people will test you. They will question your silence. They will accuse you of arrogance. They will tell stories about you to make sense of what they cannot understand. But let them. Let them misunderstand you. Let them gossip. Let them whisper. None of it can touch you if you refuse to engage. The only thing that gives their words power is your reaction. Imagine standing in a crowded room while people shout insults in your direction. If you turn to face them, if you respond to every word, you feed their noise. But if you stand firm, silent, unshaken, their voices lose strength. Their insults become meaningless. They realize their words cannot reach you, and eventually they fall silent. This is the power of stillness. When you no longer feel the need to explain yourself, you become untouchable. When you stop reacting to every criticism, you gain a power that those who seek to control you will never understand. The greatest masters throughout history knew this. They did not waste energy defending their truth. They lived it. They walked their path with unwavering focus, letting their results speak louder than any argument ever could. Think of the tree that stands firm in the storm. It does not argue with the wind. It does not waste energy explaining why its roots run deep. It simply stands, steady and silent, knowing that no amount of noise can uproot what is deeply grounded. You must become like that tree, rooted in your truth, unshaken by criticism, unbothered by judgment, detached from the need to explain yourself to those who refuse to understand. And as you do this, you will discover something powerful. Your silence will begin to speak for you. The changes in your life will become undeniable. The growth within you will become visible to those who once doubted you. The very people who mocked your journey will one day see that you were not lost, you were evolving. But here's the secret. They will only see it once you stop trying to make them see it. Your transformation is not something that can be explained. It is something that must be proven through action, through presence, through quiet strength. So let go of the need to convince anyone of who you are becoming. Stop wasting your time justifying your choices. Stop defending your path to those who refuse to walk beside you. Instead, become the kind of person whose presence alone demands respect. Become the kind of person who speaks with action rather than words. Become the kind of person whose silence carries more weight than any explanation ever could. Because when you reach that point, when you stand so firm in your truth that you no longer feel the need to explain it, you will have reached something far greater than approval. You will have found peace, the kind of peace that does not depend on being understood, the kind of peace that cannot be shaken by criticism, the kind of peace that comes from knowing without question that you are walking the path you were always meant to walk. So breathe deeply. Release the need to explain. Trust that those who are meant to walk with you will see your truth without you having to prove it. And trust that those who doubt you were never part of your journey to begin with. You are not here to convince anyone of your worth. You are here to become everything you were meant to be, and no explanation is required. A man once came to the Buddha, frustrated and filled with anger. He had been insulted by another and wanted to know how to make his enemy suffer. The Buddha listened patiently and then asked, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to take it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man thought for a moment and answered, "It still belongs to the one who offered it." The Buddha nodded. "Then why do you accept the gift of another's anger? Why do you carry their insult? Leave it with them and you will remain free." Most people live as prisoners of the opinions of others. They react to every insult. They explain themselves to every critic. They waste energy justifying their choices to those who were never meant to understand them. They allow the words of others to enter their minds, shaping their emotions, dictating their peace. But what if you simply refuse to accept the noise? What if, like the Buddha's lesson, you left the words where they were, unclaimed, untouched, powerless? The strongest people are not those who fight every battle. They are those who refuse to fight battles that do not matter. They do not need to explain themselves to those who do not wish to understand. They do not need to defend their path to those who have no intention of walking beside them. They know that their energy is sacred, and they do not waste it on unnecessary conflict. Look at your own life. How many times have you let someone else's words steal your peace? How many times have you explained yourself to people who had already made up their minds about you? How many times have you argued with those who were only seeking to provoke you, not to understand you? But here is the truth. When you stop explaining, you become untouchable. The moment you realize that you do not owe anyone an explanation for your path, your choices, or your growth, you step into a power that few will ever experience. Imagine a king walking through his kingdom. The crowd shouts at him, some with admiration, some with anger, some with jealousy. Does he stop to argue with each person? Does he explain his every move? Number one, he walks forward unbothered, focused on his purpose, because he knows that his power is not in their approval, it is in his presence. You must learn to move through life in the same way, with certainty, with focus, without the need to stop and explain yourself at every turn. But people will test you. The moment you stop explaining, they will try harder to provoke you. They will call you arrogant, distant, difficult. Let them. They will question your silence. Try to pull you back into the cycle of unnecessary explanations. Ignore them. The moment you engage, the moment you feel the need to justify yourself, you have already lost your peace. Because the truth is, some people do not deserve access to your energy. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you. Not everyone is capable of understanding your path, and that is not your problem to fix. A lion does not concern itself with the opinions of sheep. The eagle does not stop to argue with crows. The river does not pause for every rock in its path. It flows undisturbed, knowing that it is moving towards something greater. And so must you. But silence is not just about ignoring others. It is about mastering yourself. It is about training your mind to stop reacting to everything that disturbs it. It is about learning the discipline of inner stillness, of unshakable focus, of power that does not need to announce itself. Because real strength is not found in loudness, it is found in restraint. It is found in knowing that your time, your energy, your mind are too valuable to be wasted on those who do not see their worth. Think of the warriors of old. They did not spend their energy fighting meaningless battles. They did not waste time proving themselves to those who doubted them. They trained in silence. They prepared in stillness. And when the time came to act, they moved with precision, with purpose, with unstoppable force. You must do the same. But be warned, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop reacting to the noise, people will notice. They will see the shift in you. Some will respect it. Others will resent it. Those who once controlled you with their opinions will realize they no longer have power over you. Those who thrived on your explanations will be left confused, unsettled, desperate to pull you back into their world of constant justification. Do not go back. Do not shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Do not lower your energy to match those who refuse to rise. Walk forward, move in silence. Let your actions speak louder than words ever could. Because when you stop explaining yourself, you stop seeking permission. You stop needing validation. You stop allowing the world to dictate who you should be. And in that silence, you find something greater than approval. You find freedom, the freedom to be yourself fully, unapologetically, the freedom to walk your own path without hesitation, the freedom to rise unshaken by the doubts of others. And in the end, that is the only thing that has ever mattered. So let go of the need to explain. Let go of the need to convince. Let go of the weight of other people's opinions. Step forward, stand firm, be still, and watch as life unfolds exactly as it was meant to. A traveler once approached a Zen master and asked, "How can I find peace?" The master smiled and replied, "Remove the weight that does not belong to you." The traveler was confused. He carried no physical burden, yet he felt heavy, restless, consumed by the opinions of others, by the expectations of society, by the need to prove himself. "What weight?" the traveler asked. The master simply pointed at the sky. "Does the wind ask permission to blow? Does the river explain its course? Do the stars justify their light? Then why do you?" Most people live their entire lives carrying unnecessary weight. The weight of explanations, the burden of proving themselves, the need to seek approval for every step they take. They waste energy arguing with those who refuse to understand, defending choices that need no defense, explaining their journey to those who were never meant to walk it. But what if you simply let go? What if you stopped explaining? What if you walked forward unshaken, no longer seeking permission to be who you were always meant to be? The most powerful people in history did not waste their time justifying themselves. They did not pause to explain their vision to every doubter. They did not seek approval from those who could not see beyond their own limitations. They moved, they acted, they built, they created, they became. Think of a mountain. It does not apologize for standing tall. It does not bend to make others comfortable. It does not shrink to fit into the expectations of those who walk beneath it. It simply is. And because of this, it commands respect, not through words, not through explanations, but through presence. You must become like that mountain. Yet the moment you stop explaining, the world will test you. People will demand answers. They will try to pull you back into old habits, into cycles of endless justification. They will say you have changed, that you are distant, that you are selfish. Let them. They do not see the weight you have carried. They do not understand the energy you have wasted. They do not know the peace that comes from walking your own path without hesitation, and their misunderstanding is not your burden to carry. Look at your life. How many times have you stopped to explain yourself when you didn't need to? How many times have you allowed the opinions of others to dictate your next move? How many times have you sacrificed your peace for the comfort of those who were never meant to understand your journey? But here's the truth. Your path is yours alone. Your vision is yours alone. Your purpose is yours alone. And not everyone is meant to see it. A sculptor does not explain his vision before the statue is complete. He does not pause his work to convince others of what he sees. He simply carves, chip by chip, piece by piece, until the masterpiece reveals itself. And only then do people understand. Your life is no different. Stop explaining, start building, stop defending, start creating, stop seeking permission, start becoming, and watch as those who once doubted you begin to see what was never theirs to understand in the first place. But be warned, when you step into your power, when you stop explaining, when you no longer seek validation, the world will react. Some will admire you, others will fear you. Some will be drawn to your energy, others will try to dim your light. Let them. Their reaction is not your responsibility. The moment you stop explaining, you stop playing their game. The moment you stop justifying, you take back your power. The moment you stop needing their approval, you become untouchable. Think of the ocean. It does not justify its waves. It does not apologize for its depth. It does not seek approval to exist. It simply moves, vast, unstoppable, undeniable. And you must do the same. Because here is the greatest truth. Silence is not emptiness. It is presence. It is focus. It is discipline. It is the quiet power that shakes the very foundations of those who once sought to control you. The great ones throughout history did not waste their breath trying to explain their existence. The enlightened did not pause their awakening to convince the blind to see. They moved with certainty, not because they sought agreement, but because they no longer needed it. When the Buddha was asked to prove his enlightenment, he did not argue. He simply remained still, radiant in his being, untouched by the need to be validated. When the river meets a mountain, it does not stop to explain why it flows. It carves through, over, around, effortless, unstoppable, unbothered by the obstacles in its path. You must become like the river, flow with ease, move with grace. Let the doubters stand where they are, bound by their own limitations, while you continue toward the vastness of your destiny. But the world will resist. It will call your silence arrogance. It will mistake your stillness for weakness. It will try to pull you back, demanding explanations, seeking arguments, craving your energy. And in those moments, you will be tested. Will you engage? Will you allow yourself to be dragged into battles that were never meant to be fought? Or will you stand firm, knowing that the highest truths need no defense? Imagine a flame in the darkness. It does not shout, it does not explain, it does not seek approval. It simply burns, and in its burning, it illuminates everything around it. The wind may try to extinguish it, but the flame that knows its own strength will not waver. You must become like that flame, unshaken, unapologetic, whole within yourself, whether the world understands you or not. Look at the moments in your life when you felt the most free. Were they the times when you were explaining yourself, justifying every decision, trying to fit into the mold others had set for you? Or were they the moments when you simply existed, without hesitation, without apology, without fear? The soul does not seek permission to shine. The sun does not dim its light for those who prefer the shade. The ocean does not question whether it is too vast, too deep, too powerful. It simply is, and so must you be. But be prepared. When you stop explaining, the world will test you. People will try to make you feel guilty for your silence. They will label you distant, cold, arrogant. Let them. Their words do not define you. Their understanding is not your responsibility. Those who were meant to see your truth will see it without needing an explanation. And those who refuse to see, they were never your concern to begin with. The temple does not open its doors to those who do not seek wisdom. The mountain does not lower itself for those who fear the climb. And you do not need to shrink for those who are unwilling to expand their vision. There is a great power in stillness, a force stronger than any argument, a presence that speaks louder than any justification. When you embrace this power, you no longer feel the need to explain. You no longer seek to prove yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you. You simply move. You become the embodiment of your truth. And in that embodiment, the right people will find you. The right opportunities will open. The right paths will reveal themselves. Not because you argued for them, but because you aligned with them. This is the secret the world does not tell you. When you stop chasing validation, when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop wasting energy on proving your worth, you step into a flow that no force can disrupt. You become magnetic, not because you sought attention, but because you no longer needed it. So let them question you. Let them misunderstand. Let them create their own stories about who you are and what you should be. It is not your burden to correct them. It is not your job to explain yourself to those who were never meant to walk beside you. Your only task is to exist so fully, so powerfully, so completely in alignment with your own truth that no words are needed. And in that silence, you will find what you have been searching for all along. Not approval, not validation, not understanding, but freedom. The freedom of knowing that you no longer need to explain yourself to anyone. There comes a point in life when you realize that the greatest power is not found in what you say, but in what you no longer need to say. You begin to see that every explanation you give is an energy exchange. Every justification a thread tying you to a world that does not require your approval. The more you try to explain your path, the more you become entangled in the expectations of those who will never walk it. And when you step back, when you stop explaining, when you stop offering your energy to those who are not ready to receive it, something incredible happens. You become free. Most people never reach this level of freedom. They remain trapped in an invisible prison, one built by the need to be understood, by the fear of being misjudged,